The addition of the through-hole access cover removes the need to recklessly disassemble the Vanity when searching for a potential leak. Currently, the only way we have to access one of our through holes is through this tiny hole that was, who knows what this was used for years ago, but that is our only access. And as you can see, it's not real good. I can get to it. I can reach the through hole, but to try to work on it is just impossible. So we're going to cut a new hole, and in this point on the on our Com-pac 23 anyway, I can only make it a 12-inch square opening because we're too close to the bow. I'm trying to stay away from a tab that comes in directly off of the hull, so we won't hopefully it won't make any difference in the structural soundness. We don't believe it will. Alright, so I've got my piece all made up at home, and now it's just a matter of cutting the hole out, which is quite a project, I've been finding out. The plywood here that I'm cutting is thicker than what the access panel is going to be, but we're just going to have to live with that. This is usually covered up by materials anyway. It's really important when you're sawing through a deck like this to make sure that there's no wires or any pipes or anything that can be underneath the area that you're cutting. Now, I've already gone in there and done that, and I found that there are a couple, but it's not going to be in our way. And of course, the scientific method for doing something like this is simply to do right in here. I got wires, but they're way up near the front here, so I don't think we'll have any issue. They're up about in front of this line. So I'm going to continue to make that cut. I failed to draw my line all the way across the front of the board. Now, the new hatch cover will have a little finger grab in there, and that's where I forgot to draw. It's probably a good idea to use some sort of precision instrument for this, but we're seldom accused of that here on the HideAway, especially when you leave it at home, but a straight block of wood will do the same job. Here, so we can this thing has been leaking a little bit on us, so we're going to figure out what that cause is and get it taken care of. Plus, now I have a much easier way of getting there. Now we just have to put the support to hold the access panel in place. I picked a thick piece of wood. That, combined with the thickness of the plywood, means that the screw here won't be sticking out through the bottom. Now let's see if we can be lucky enough to have this work on the first try. Okay. Looks good to me. I think we'll throw one more in there just to be on the safe side. Don't want to have this come out. One down. I know you're all going to say that you would have got a better cut, a better fit, had you used the blank, used the one that you're cutting out for the replacement, and that's real true. We could have, but in this case, with the hole already being here, I really didn't want to have that gap. Now maybe that's what we'll do. It is a better fit. I put this together at home before I knew what we were going to run into here, so it is not a perfect fit, but then again I think it'll probably do the job, and if it doesn't, it's just a small matter to drop this in and we have the same thing. Of course, as all sailors are, I generally don't throw anything away, so we will keep this someplace, and if we decide that's what we need to have in here, then that's what I'll use instead of my the one I built at home and then brought here. You can see what I'm talking about here. No matter how careful you are, or at least me anyway, you can get a variance in the cut. And I could go in and do all kinds of sanding and stuff, but that's just going to make the hole bigger. Now I figured I made the hole a 1/4 inch wider and deeper with the idea that I would have some flexibility there, but that appears to be too much. One of the things I don't like about the ones we have on board that was factory made is that they get real tight. The wood, of course, will absorb water and they're hard to get open. So we'll just have to see which one of these works out best for us, and we'll go with that. Now on to fixing the real problem, the drain. This is the old tube that we had to perform a little microsurgery on it to stop it from leaking while we were out on a recent foray. What happens to this rib type of tubing, I don't know if you can see it in there, is that it'll crack under stress, and or stress or movement, and that's what had happened to this. It had been allowed to move around too much, and it cracked. I was able to wrap some good old duct tape around it and then put the clamp back on, and that got us home without any real issues. But I wish there was a better way, but I don't really see anything that would work. Well, I'm not a fan of using this type of tubing, and I'll show you why. Well, this is the stuff you get at a typical marine store where you have the it's corrugated plastic, not reinforced, and then you cut it right here. This one apparently had been causing us more grief than we thought, because when I took off the clamp, the hose just fell in my hands, and this is the skinny end of it, and that apparently had broke right along the seam here. Now this that's in the old installation. This new installation that we have, I'm hoping that that doesn't happen for obvious reasons. That's a big hole, so we're going to replace that, but I'm afraid it does have to get replaced pretty much with the same thing that we had before. I couldn't really find anything else that looked like it might work. However, the new installation we're going to do today will have less movement to it, so it should be okay. By cutting the panel opening here, I've got much better access now to my my water pump for my sink, as well as my depth finder. This will make life a lot easier and quicker should we have any kind of a problem with it. Yeah, there's always one more thing on any project, and on this one, since we have a through hole, even though it is in a pretty accessible place, I always like to keep one of these handy. So we'll just drop it down in the hole there. If we ever have a problem, that's exactly where it's going to be. There's no place else it can be, and there's no need to go tearing things apart looking for it. We do that near all of our through holes, which is only 2 on this boat, thank goodness. So.
Cruising takes up space, lots of space. HideAway's 3 jibs take up a substantial portion of the V-berth. Add a toolbox, various maintenance widgets, clothing, food, water, and other essential stuff, and soon the V-berth becomes what it should have been in the first place, a place to store things, a head, and a workroom. Besides, sleeping over the head is just not an appealing concept to me. If somebody wants to use the head, for instance, the entire berth must be torn apart. Not an attractive thought at 3 in the morning. The older Com-pac 23s have spacious settees that make very comfortable, if not particularly romantic, berths. I raised a vanity above the settee, the depth of the sink, in part to prevent a siphon, but mostly to keep the non-liquid items from collecting in it. The vanity top is plywood, sealed with epoxy on all sides. It has held up well over time. The shelving has deep fiddles to keep personal stuff in their places, and I've added one on deck to help keep things there where they belong during our more aggressive sailing. My finished carpentry skills are the stuff of nightmares. I'm not a carpenter, let alone a shipwright. The through-hole access cover removes the need to recklessly disassemble the vanity when searching for a potential leak, and in the process cause the drain tube to crack, causing yet another leak.